Okay, so just imagine being sued because of the name of your business.
Uh-oh.
Right. And now imagine that name being something as simple as the Black Boy.
Wow.
That's exactly what's going on over in Britain right now, and it's causing quite a stir, to say the least.
Yeah, I can imagine.
So we're going to dive into this legal battle today, which is really bringing up some really big questions about, cultural sensitivity, historical preservation, freedom of speech, and even like the power of, individuals to spark change.
Definitely some hot button topics there.
For sure. So to set the scene a little bit, we've got a pub in the UK. It's called the Black Boy. Pretty
Hmm.
common name for a pub over there, apparently.
I've heard that, yeah.
And a convicted terrorist is suing them because he finds the name and some of the imagery associated with the pub offensive.
Okay, so there's a lot to unpack there already, I think.
Totally. So
Yeah.
what's really interesting here is like this case could have like huge ripple effects,
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. This is about way more than just one pub. It really touches on this like global movement that we're seeing to like re-examine names and statues and
Uh-huh.
symbols that are linked to like problematic historical figures or
You're
events.
totally right. Like we've seen this with sports teams, right?
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. Like the Washington Redskins changing their name to the Washington Commanders, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. And buildings too, even like college buildings and stuff.
Oh, yeah, definitely. So this lawsuit is arguing that the pub's name and the imagery, promote harmful racial stereotypes.
And get this, legal experts are actually debating whether this case could even fall under the UK's Equality Act of 2010,
Interesting.
which prohibits discrimination based on race.
Wow.
So,
Yeah.
so like if the plaintiff wins this case, it could set a precedent for like similar lawsuits, all across the country.
Absolutely. And this isn't even the first time that pub names in the UK have come under fire.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
All
Back
right.
in the 90s, there was a whole movement to like rename pubs with names like the Black Boy and the Saracen's Head because people argued that those names perpetuated, racist stereotypes.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize it had been going on for so long.
Yeah. So this case could like reignite that whole debate.
Well, it's definitely reignited the debate online.
Oh, I bet.
Social media is like buzzing about this.
What are people saying?
I mean, it's a mix. Some people are arguing that this lawsuit is like a long overdue step towards inclusivity.
Yeah.
I saw one tweet that said, it's 2024 time to retire these outdated and offensive names.
Yeah. Makes sense.
But of course, not everyone agrees.
Right. There's always pushback.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, some people are arguing that like changing the name is basically erasing history and that we should be focusing on understanding the context behind these names rather than just getting rid of them.
Yeah. I saw a comment that said, we can't just sanitize history to fit modern sensibilities.
Right, exactly.
No,
It's a really complex issue.
it is. And it's interesting you bring up that idea of context because, you know, this pub name probably does have like roots in local history.
Probably. Yeah.
And maybe it wasn't originally intended to cause offense, you know?
Right.
But how do we reconcile that with the fact that like the name might be hurtful or offensive to people today? Where do we draw the line?
That is the million-dollar question, isn't it? I mean, this case really forces us to grapple with the like inherent contradictions of historical interpretation,
Yeah.
How do we reconcile the values of our present with the actions of our past? And like who gets to decide which parts of history we preserve and how we represent them?
But it really makes you think like, what if we were in that position? Imagine, owning a business with a potentially problematic name.
Mm.
What factors would we consider? Would we prioritize preserving the history of the name? Or would we focus on creating a more like inclusive environment for our customers?
That is a tough call. I think you'd have to weigh the historical context, the potential impact on your business, and most importantly, the feelings and concerns of the community you serve.
Absolutely. This case also brings up this bigger question about freedom of speech.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Some people argue that businesses should have the right to choose their own names, even if some people find those names offensive.
Right.
So where does freedom of speech fit into this whole debate?
Well, it's a valid point. I mean, this case could have implications for how we balance freedom of expression with the need to create a society that's welcoming and inclusive for everyone. It's a delicate balancing act for sure.
So what does this all mean for you, our listener? This seemingly small case about a pub in Britain opens up some huge questions about the power of language, the evolution of cultural norms, and the responsibility we all have in shaping a more inclusive future.
It's a reminder that even seemingly minor local disputes can tap into larger cultural and societal debates. And it's a challenge for all of us to think critically about the names, the symbols, and the language we use, and how they might impact others.
Leaving you with one final thought. Where do you draw the line between preserving history and addressing potentially harmful symbols? What criteria would you use to decide whether a name or symbol needs to be changed?
Hmm, that's a good one to think about.
Thanks for listening.
Thanks, everyone.
We'll catch you next time.
See ya!